Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Club, where we're keeping it surreal and talking about all things odd, mysterious, and paranormal. This is show 18. Happy Thanksgiving. Tonight, we're barreling down the rabbit hole into a realm I felt was appropriate for this time of thanks. I've invited my oldest son, Aaron, to join me and talk about our wonderfully odd family. It's super candid, with mature content and plenty of adult language, so be advised. You should also keep in mind that there are some images and video on the YouTube version of this show that you don't want to miss. So be sure to check out the video too, if you're already watching the video. And before we dive in too deep, remember to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can also visit my Patreon page and become a member so I can keep bringing you fun and freaky shows with colorful guests, interesting ideas, and amazing stories. My channels are full of fun little goodies that'll make you go, Patreon.com/The Rabbit Hole Club. If you want to follow me on social media or view the YouTube side of this show, you can find all of that on my new website, therabbithole.club. That's right, I said .club, C-L-U-B. If you or someone you know would like to share a scare, a show idea, a personal experience, or anything else odd and unusual, you can call my hotline at 816-514-5084. Leave a message there or send an email to submit at therabbithole.club. This week's Rabbit Reel is full of crazy stuff. In paranormal news this week, and first up, George Arnew of Dreamland Ranch in Rachel, Nevada, had some very unwelcome visitors to both his home and his resort on November 10th. The FBI and the Air Force Office of Special Investigations served what they called a no-knock raid on him, busting down doors, breaking furniture, and confiscating all of his computers, phones, drones, memory sticks, and more. To the best of my understanding, he was not detained, but was left with thousands of dollars in damages and confiscated property, not to mention being humiliated beyond words. For those of you who don't know who this guy is, he's the owner of Dreamland Ranch and Resort, which is located very close to Area 51. He has an up-to-date and comprehensive website at dreamlandresort.com, where they specialize in all things Area 51, and they have a bird's eye view of what's going on there. He's kind of been the eyes and ears for the public in that realm for the last several years. I guess that means the government is still quite touchy about what goes on at the base they swore wasn't there for decades. If you'd like to support Mr. Arnew, or if you're curious about Area 51, I suggest you visit his website, dreamlandresort.com. It's full of information on Area 51 and has quite a few articles on the history and black ops of the airbase. In other crazy and weird stuff, Ogopogo may have been caught on film this month by Colleen and Dale Hancher. Ogopogo is a mythical lake monster much like the Loch Ness Monster, but this guy lives in Okanagan Lake of British Columbia, Canada. The Hanchers were sailing the lake when they caught sight of something in the water. They decided to get a better look in case it was some kind of water hazard that needed to be removed, and got within about 10 feet of the object. When they still couldn't discern what it was, Colleen snapped a photo with her cell phone so they could magnify the image. They were blown away by what they saw. It bears a striking resemblance to the common artistic interpretations of Ogopogo you find all over that area, and even looks uncannily like a dragon head in the water. Well, that's not all the weirdness in the world this week, but that's all we have time for. And now, on to the show! So hi, Aaron, and happy birthday. Thank you for being here tonight, man.
Yeah, sure.
I'm so happy you're here. We're going to talk about our crazy life together. Since this is my oldest son, he's been with me his whole life, and we've seen some pretty crazy things together.
It was pretty weird growing up with Colleen as my mom.
For oh so very many reasons. So you got to grow up, behind the scenes on films and theatrical productions and live events and Oh, the haunted houses.
Promo events and themed photo shoots like you did at the zoo and like
Yep.
all kinds of stuff like that for sure.
Yep.
It was almost like you were being used by all kinds of people to create hype.
Yeah, pretty much.
Seriously, I watched that happen. I watched the popularization of airbrush, body painting happen like right as the airbrush shop started really taking off and kind of doing its own thing.
You sure did. You guys were knee deep and neck deep in that stuff growing up.
Oh yeah, it was very interesting whenever Insane Clown Posse shows up on the caller ID.
Yes, they did. More than once.
Psychopathic Records?
Psychopathic Records. Woot woot. Okay, so that was the career side of growing up with me, but we also had a lot of really, really strange and bizarre and paranormal and freaky things happen when you were growing up too.
Well, I would say, honestly, my first memories of like some paranormal things happening came from, I guess you could call it like the earlier part of my life between 3 and 8 years old, something like that. And a lot of it started whenever you started doing, palm readings and stuff at the at Merlin's.
Oh yeah,
the tarot.
Yep, I was doing classes out there and tarot readings and psychometry
and so whenever you were working out there was just like some weird things that you ended up coming in contact with.
Well, that's an understatement.
When you worked in that place.
Yeah.
And you brought some very unique people around that I was not really, familiar with that energy, you know what I mean? Like, so it was kind of intriguing to me on a when I was younger to see like photographs of this guy burning, photos and like, weird looking faces showing up in flames and
oh yeah.
And I started seeing all this stuff whenever I was younger, and I was just like, well, maybe there is like something outside of like what everybody is aware of. Maybe there is a different, realm, like a spiritual realm, where something else takes place.
Yeah.
That we, every so often touch on in our ordinary lives, or it touches on us rather.
Boy, it sure seems to be touching a whole lot more frequently in recent years, huh?
Have you ever seen that movie Ghostbusters?
Yeah. Right. Dogs and cats living together.
Yeah, kind of something like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Okay, so what are some of those things that actually stick out in your mind? Like the pictures? Okay, that was an investigation that we went and did in King City, Missouri.
Yeah, it was. I still remember the dude's name, Frank.
Yeah, Frank. I don't
somehow
know whatever happened to him.
I have no idea how I remember that, but I do remember that around that period of time you were doing, what would you call it? You were medium work, like clairvoyant work.
Oh yeah, I was doing a lot.
And you were doing readings, and then you were also doing paranormal investigations.
Yes.
So it was all around the same time.
Past life regressions. We did a lot of past life regressions during
tarot
that time.
readings.
Yeah, all of that, all of the above. Yeah, we went and did. Frank came up with that particular investigation, and it was a lady. Her name was Rose. And it was a family property that she suddenly had all of this crazy stuff going on, a lot of shadow figure activity and paranormal, like poltergeist stuff, a lot of physically moving kinetic stuff. And so it scared the hell out of her.
Poltergeist stuff.
Oh, definitely. And it was violent and it was angry. So she was thinking that it was a demonic thing, and she invited us. She moved out, left in the middle of the night and didn't go back.
Almost like the Amityville horror shit.
Yep. So we went up there and we did an investigation, and we found that somebody had been doing some rather nefarious type ritual type activity out in the barn, and that there was a not a demon, which is a common misconception. Just because it acts badly doesn't make it a demon. It was the spirit of this guy who owned that property, and he was pissed off. So he was causing all kinds of trouble, and he didn't want to go on because he was such a bad person in life that he was afraid he was going to hell. That was his teaching. That's what he believed, and so he wasn't going anywhere. And he was mean and mad. So that's what that investigation was. But what else do you remember?
I also remember around that same period in time, you guys trying to find some sacred Indian grounds. And there was a certain symbol that was associated with, was supposed to be a map, I guess.
You're talking about the treasure
stuff. Some treasure, yes.
Yeah, I did a show on that. It was just me by myself. But yeah, that was the Aztec, Incan, Mayan treasure with Jeff.
Yeah, I know, but it still had an aura of mystique around it. It was just
It
was just like, what is this? It almost felt like it was being driven by something.
It's because it was. I had visitations from some of those entities, and they were not human.
And so whenever all that shit happened, I definitely took notice to it too, because it had just a very strange feeling about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's certain things you experience in life that have a certain feeling about it. Yeah. And whenever those things happen, it's like the esoteric writer G. Edgar Chief, he talks about it too, about in his
Great Chief.
Yeah, in his early childhood, he had 3 things that happened to him that made him feel like something outside of the ordinary is possible. But the mysterious was really actually a thing.
Yep.
So he spent, after those 3 things happened to him, they were very significant things, he went and tried to find those things, like, where those things came from, or tried to explain what exactly that was.
I enjoy his teachings. He's one of the very few, what I would call metaphysicians.
He is, definitely.
Who taught more than just the technical side of things. There is also, to him, he acknowledged the spiritual side of things, and most metaphysicians don't.
It was a spirit science, meaning that he really did, I guess you could say, try to find a connection between matter and spiritual energies.
Because there is.
Because there's a connection between the 2 things. It's like spiritual energies. I know we're getting super deep here now. Spiritual energies are actually just matter, the finer kind of matter.
Yep.
And so, psychic energy is basically what I'm talking about, which is what ghosts, what I view ghosts as, to operate in that frequency, because that's what they have.
Yes.
If they're not passing on, if they're not going to wherever it is that the energy, goes, they're here in that realm. That's their place.
Yes.
Psychic energies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they have energy and thought.
Oh, yeah.
And emotion.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things. So something I remember whenever you guys were growing up, because you and Kendall are so close in age. You're 13 months apart.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you guys were almost like dealing with twins growing up. And Kendall was go fast. Oh my God, he never stopped. And he was walking and talking at 9 months old. I hope actually that I can get him on this show at some point. We've talked about him and the kids coming on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'd be fun. Anyways, I remember you guys, he was about 2 years old, so you were 3 years old. And I remember that I got mad at y'all one afternoon and I sent you to your bedroom. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah, of course. We talked about this story many times.
Because it was impactful and kind of traumatic.
Well, okay, so background on this particular story. So, us being, creepy little kids that we are, we never wanted to take a nap. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. We play around on the phone. I called 911 on accident once.
More than once.
Whenever I was supposed to be taking a nap, screwing around on the phone. So we never wanted to take naps whenever we were supposed to go take naps when we were kids.
Yeah.
So this one particular time, Kendall decides that he has this idea where we're going to take a light bulb, break it in half, fill the bottom part of the light bulb with water, screw it into the lamp, and then plug it into the wall. And this is all Kendall's idea.
He was 2.
He was probably like 3 or 4.
No, he was not. I marked that in your baby books.
Okay.
It was 2 years old.
Well, regardless, so this is what ended up happening was Kendall, it was all his idea. He said he had this dream. It was specifically, this is exactly his word for word what he said. He had a dream of this guy that looked like Santa Claus putting this lamp, putting water in this lamp and plugging it into the wall. Well, we didn't know this as kids, but this was actually something. This was actually a German booby trap.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure for World War I.
World War II.
World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it was a German booby trap because they actually would used to do this. And this was all Kendall's idea. I was just kind of flying with it and kind of like watching what he was doing. And so we plugged it into the wall, and Mom came in to check on us, and we were hiding in the closet.
Giggling.
And my mom came in, and it fucking shocked the shit out of her.
Yes, it did.
And somehow she was able to get it safely unplugged from the wall.
Yes, I did.
And we sat in the closet and giggled about it.
Which is how I found you. But so from my perspective, I was downstairs folding laundry, and it got really quiet upstairs, which any parent knows is a bad sign. They're either asleep or they're up to something. So I went up there, and as I came down the hallway, I remember every single step that I took, I started getting this really horrible stabbing headache. By the time I got into the room, I had this really incredibly horrible headache. I came in, couldn't see the kids, but there's this Big Bird lamp sitting right in the middle of the floor. And I actually looked at it twice because the light bulb wasn't just broken in half. It was the top of the bulb, just like you'd take a glass cutter. The top of the bulb was missing. The bottom of the bulb was intact, screwed into the outlet, and full of water. And that's what I noticed. And so I reached down and I yanked it out of the wall, and I got shocked in the process, and that was my experience there.
Well, and this also kind of brings me to a point too. Whenever I was a kid, this is a huge thing, and I do think that it had partially to do with some of the energy in that house. But I used to have some of the really wildest dreams, horror dreams too.
Yeah.
To where I was just it's shit that you listen to it and you're just it kind of makes the hair on the back of your neck, go up, because it's just what the fuck? Because I really do feel like there was some kind of energy at that house that was really super dark, and it was messing,
turbulent,
and it was messing with me whenever I was dreaming, because I would have dreams I would have this reoccurring dream where I'd have werewolves. I'd hear them coming, and I'd hear them, and I was in the backyard by myself after dark. There's nobody around, and I'd have werewolves coming for me from all angles.
That's terrifying.
I could hear them in the woods, getting ready to come for me. Yeah, so it's and I had weird dreams like that whenever I was a kid, and I do think it had partially to do with the house that we were in. I agree. I was laying in bed one night, and I was looking into my closet, and I just saw and it was kind of in my mind's eye, but not really. I really did actually kind of see these things. It's I saw just all these eyes, just a whole closet full of eyes.
That doesn't surprise me.
And it was really bizarre. It was something. It was an experience that kind of stuck with me. Remember, because I slept in that middle room not that many times.
I couldn't get anybody to sleep in that middle room, even the baby.
Yeah, because that's what happened with me in that closet. It's I didn't really want to be in there.
That's how you guys all ended up in the same bedroom, was because I couldn't get anybody to sleep in that room. Yeah. Everybody had horrible nightmares, and they the baby was just fussy. Adrian wouldn't go to sleep in there.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long. You guys all ended up in the same bedroom.
You just made it into your selling room.
Yep.
But anyway, so kind of moving on. So yeah, so the dreams had whenever I was a kid definitely kind of influenced my thinking about things. But what really kind of stands out to me is whenever I started getting a little bit older, and we saw all kinds of crazy shit when we were kids. UFOs, like whatever. It's just like those things kind of happened, and they kind of stuck out in my mind as unusual. Like this, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
And the funny part about it is like it did kind of like impact me in a way. I mean, I use the alien as my kind of like my symbol or my mascot or whatever in my music. So that was kind of a wild experience for me too. It's just like all in the crop circles that Cynthia was taking pictures of.
Yes, I just did a show on that last week.
And so it says like all of those things really contributed to me being a little more open to the possibility that there was some kind of paranormal something going on. It's like, I'd love to watch the old, unsolved mysteries and all that, where they were, talking about the haunted boat and it's like all that, and it was just like that was something. The Winchester Mansion, and all that stuff like stuck out in my head. Yeah. As far as it's like, there's some shit going on here that I can't explain. So, I would say my first actual personal paranormal experience, because I was still a skeptic. I mean, I never really.
You used to roll your eyes at me a lot when you were a teenage dude.
But I was still a skeptic. I had all this stuff happen to me, so I was open to the possibility of something else, but I had never actually like physically face to face,
Well, outside of UFOs, because those you'd seen a lot. In your life.
That's different than ghosts, though.
Right.
That was way different than ghosts. So, my first very I guess you could call it vivid paranormal experience that I've ever had was when I was working down at the Beast Haunted House.
Oh yeah, when you were down working at the haunted house.
That was the very first time that I ever actually had any physical experience with one.
All those buildings are so haunted.
Because I came to realize, especially with those buildings and spending so much time in those buildings, that there are energies out there. There are residual energies, like whatever you want to call them. It doesn't even matter if you want to call them ghosts or not. There's residual energies out there in all kinds of different places. Yes. They stick around. I mean, and I can tell you that from...
Yeah, and some of them have presence and personality, and some of them are just imprints.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had the night that I really realized something was going on was whenever... Well, the very first thing was whenever whoever took that photograph of Garrett and Tabitha.
Oh, the one that you can see Lee or whoever it is standing there.
Full form apparition.
Right in the middle of God and everybody.
Dressed in like a brown cloak or something like that.
Almost kind of a greeny cloak.
Almost looks like he has like some kind of prosthetic or something on his face. Mm-hmm. And he's holding like a script or a styrofoam.
He's got a script and a styrofoam
cup or something like that in his hand. And dude in costume is not there. Dude does not exist.
Well, and they hadn't used scripts around there for...
And you could see through this apparition to the other side.
Yep.
With my friend Garrett and her makeup artist at the time, Tabitha. Mm-hmm. See through this figure. See them.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like, whenever I seen that, then I was like, that really kind of like made me go, whoa. And then the camera upstairs in the ballroom started doing crazy shit.
Yep.
We would take pictures of people that were actually living, and you could see straight through them to the fireplace.
And to people standing behind them.
Yeah, you could see all the shit. And it was like right in your face. And it was like, and so that's really kind of got me, to understand that there was other things going on that I didn't really understand.
Well, and we both had so many experiences down there. We could do many shows on it. Well, those places down in the West Bottoms are so haunted.
They really are. But like whenever there was that one evening where I was working and I actually had something physically touch me.
Yep.
That was the night.
I had so many experiences in that same area, though, Aaron. That's where we built some of the escape rooms up there. And so I spent a lot of time up there. And that guy talked on the spirit box and said some crazy things. I'll have to see if I can remember all of them. It was nuts. But he did a lot of crazy things up there.
Well, and it's like one of those things. It's like, it's not like something like I bumped into something in the dark. I didn't know. I had a hand that wasn't there. A hand that wasn't there touched me, and I could physically feel like individual fingers.
Yep.
Like I felt it on my side. It touched my side, and it wasn't just like I brushed up against it. Though it like touched my side. 1001, 1002, pulled away.
It was an obvious thing.
It was an obvious touch.
Yeah.
It was obviously something touched me.
You know, I never had him get violent with me up there. I experienced him on the ghost box. I remember whenever he told one of the guys that we were working with, he was trying to get a drop light to work, and he tried everything, including changing the bulb, and then discovered that it was not even plugged in. So, as he's saying, oh, well, it's not plugged in. The ghost box that I was testing out at the time said, dumbass, just as clear as a bell. He was funny. He was a lot of fun to deal with. It was a guy that had actually worked there before.
Yeah, I have, a few different memories of different shit that going on up there that I don't really know how to explain. Those cold spots were another one of them.
Yeah, cold spots. Lights where there shouldn't be lights.
Lights where there shouldn't be lights. Movement.
Yeah, movement.
Like, just because those houses are really super dark.
Oh, yes, they are.
And so, like, when the house lights aren't on.
Right.
And a lot of time, whenever you're walking through the house, you're like trying to, unless you're actually working on a set, the house lights aren't on, and you're like walking through trying to make sure that it looks good for the show.
Well, even if it's during the day with the house lights on, it is still super, super dark in a lot of places.
Oh, it is, yeah, for sure. The Beast especially.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The Beast is super dark, but
hell, it's too.
But anyways, so that was kind of a turning point for me as far as like understanding.
What about hell? Did you ever have anything happen over there?
Yes, I did actually. That was an equally creepy thing that happened to me over there. So
let me guess, it was third floor, wasn't it?
Yep.
So
anyways, I started off the season there in a position they call crawl drag. So crawl drag is a great big huge bat vampire animatronic that pops out at you in a corridor. Okay, and like you're walking through a hall and it pops out at you. There was actually an actor in there that's a vampire, and that was the first position that I worked when I was over at Hell. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was doing really good in there, but I'm not gonna say anything too terrible about the owner of the haunted houses, but he's not my favorite person for multiple reasons. He moved me to a spot that was like just kind of a really shitty place, as far as like it's a really hard place to scare people. There's no room. It's very congested.
It's very very open with no concealment available.
When you're scaring people, you want to have like as much space as possible to scare the shit out of people, because the more room you have to move around, the more places you can be, the quicker.
But there wasn't even like curtains or anything up there that you could conceal yourself in.
Yeah, there's nothing you could really do about that room.
Yeah, it was kind of a bare room, yes.
Yeah, sometimes you felt like you're just kind of standing there, you know what I mean? Like,
blah, blah.
Rawr, I'm supposed to be scary. But anyways, so he put me up in the spot, and I was just kind of trying to get used to it. I was kind of figuring out some way to, work the room or whatever. But anyways, it was probably like a week or so after I started working this room. There was, I had some dead times where I didn't really have much of anybody coming through, and there was a noise that started happening, especially at the beginning of the night. But it started lasting like all night, and it would stop periodically, and then it would resume. And this noise, I tried to figure out what this noise was, but it was like, it didn't really sound like it could have been machinery or something like that. But there's so many like hydraulic hoses and
right, there's a lot
of components to the haunted houses. So there's a lot of different mechanical things that it could have been in a sense. But I don't feel like that's what it was, honestly. I tried to track down the source of the sound, and the sound really, honestly, it was really bizarre because it hung in the room like right over me. And it didn't echo or anything. It was just kind of what it was. And then it stopped. And it was like this real guttural, like growling, like something was growling at me.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
It was like, it was almost exactly the way that it sounded. And then it stopped.
I don't think there's any speakers in that room, or there wasn't anyways.
No. But it would just and it would do that to me all night long. And just like, and it wouldn't have any rhyme or reason as far as like when it would be starting and when it would be stopping. It was just like, sometimes it was doing it when people were walking in the room.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the soundtrack in that general area.
But there's no speakers or anything. There's
no speakers in that room. Now, there are in the room next door with that animatronic.
But why would somebody just put that sound on a speaker?
Well, I did a lot of soundtrack. I took care of a lot of the soundtrack in that particular place, and I'm trying to put my finger on what it could have been. I can't think of anything.
It didn't sound like something that was like produced.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say to you.
So I had that same animatronic nailed me and Harry's daughter. We went through that. We were going through on a preseason check. And we were supposed to go ahead and get all the animatronics and all the lights and everything going, get the whole show rocking so we could start troubleshooting and make our punch list. And me and Belle went through, we were on the 3rd floor and we went through that room with the animatronic. And I said something along the lines of, oh, I know he's going to get us. He always tries to get me. And bigger than shit, we go into that room and the animatronic pops on us. But only after standing over it and talking about it, and it knocked me down. Check this out. They hadn't turned on the animatronics yet. They hadn't hit the air. Okay. So none of the pneumatics were working. It had been idle for, 9 months?
Wow. That's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, so it went off, and it knocked me over without being powered up. I had a lot of crazy things through that particular area I was doing some work in, and Adrian, my other son, was a floor below me with another guy. And I had this very guttural voice come up in my ear, and it said, Colleen. Well, it startled me a little bit, but my instant response was, what? And this wind blew through the room, and I heard this huge bang throughout the building, and Adrian yelling downstairs. So I go running down there, and that thing had gone through the building and out the door in the room that he was working, and slammed the door to the fire escape so hard that it shook the building. Scared the hell out of your brother and the other guy that was working too.
I'm here to say that those buildings are like something else entirely. I feel like the West Bottoms in general is almost like some kind of a weird vortex or something.
I don't know. It's weird down there. I worked in a lot of those buildings down there for years and years. And I can honestly say that the majority of them had some kind of entity or energy about them.
Oh, I mean, there's just so much history in that area. Anyways,
there is.
As where our goods for the city and the supplies to build our city originally came in was right there.
I think the West Bottoms was probably, the River Key or the River Market area was the very first settlement, I think, in Kansas City, but the West Bottoms was right behind that.
Yeah. And the northeast neighborhood was at the Pembroke Hill.
Is it?
That's supposed to be the very first neighborhood in Kansas City. but it's overlooking the East Bottoms.
Right.
So, I mean, that was all like developed like right at the same time.
Well, and there have been like a couple of different really severe floods that came through there and killed a lot of people and took out a whole lot of property.
Yeah.
The architecture down there is super cool. I used to love to go to the West Bottoms. I'm not such a fan anymore.
Well, it's a very unique place as far as like the thing about the West Bottoms is like a lot. I've been everywhere in Kansas City. Like I've spent my whole life here. I'm an Uber driver, so I'm everywhere. But for some reason, the West Bottoms, I have had significant amount of time I've spent down there working,
right.
Actually just doing all kinds of things down there, and it just seems, and it's really bizarre doing different things. So it just seems like it's just been a place that I guess you could say pulled me in, a few different times in my life.
Yes, me too.
And it's been a journey. It's like
and an education.
And an education. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I was say that's not the only thing, but that's definitely a huge thing that kind of like got me a little more, a little less skeptical of paranormal happenings.
Yeah.
Was working down there and having the experiences that I had down there.
Okay, but what about the barn? Did you ever have any crazy experiences at the barn?
The funny part about it is that I personally did not really, but you took all kinds of really crazy photos down there.
Oh my God, yes. Yep, so Grandpa did.
And it just kind of led me to believe whenever I saw all those things, because it's like really crazy orb shapes. Some of them like way different than others.
Well, and little fairies too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they all have different shapes. It's
and
like
colors.
And colors, and it's just like these pictures that you take down there, especially after dark, were I had no real explanation for that.
Yeah.
I still remained a skeptic because I never really had any like physical experience or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I personally, and it came from a lot of different things, but I personally, I never felt scared walking around after dark in that place by myself at all.
Oh, me neither.
Not at all.
No, it was very friendly.
It was very friendly as far as it's like, honestly, that's one of the reasons that it became kind of one of my favorite places when I was a kid, because it was, peaceful. My childhood was pretty chaotic in a lot of different ways. And
yes,
it was a very peaceful place to go and be able to like walk around. And we did, it was actually our first experience with haunted houses and stuff, was doing the Elks hayride for them over there.
That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
And the cool thing about it is too, is just like I didn't have any paranormal experiences during that, but there was definitely some energies that I felt.
Oh yeah.
Because there was all kinds of people that I didn't really even know, but I kind of like grew to know and kind of be friends with some of them, like from different parts of town that south of me and to the west of me, that I probably wouldn't have ever met otherwise, but somehow they came to this hayride that we were doing, this haunted hayride that we were doing, and Mom was doing all the makeup for it. So that was kind of our first little, well, she did haunted house shit when she was a kid, but that was my first experience with working at haunted houses. So I guess my point of even explaining this is just the whole idea and premise of haunted houses. It has some kind of energy to it.
Yes.
That it's kind of hard to explain unless that you're a part of it. You know what I mean? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, whenever I was working there, I had experiences where I felt like certain kinds of energies or spiritual whatever. I almost felt like it possessed me, and that I just I performed in like a supernatural way.
Well, especially with the big haunted houses, when we worked down there, I noticed that the closer it got to Halloween, the more the energy would peak, and people would start reporting more paranormal occurrences.
Oh yeah, because it's just true. It's just like it really does work in a weird way. If there's a higher concentration of energy in one place,
yes,
then a lot more things start happening.
There's so much energy that goes through those places. I mean, like really peaked energy.
Yeah, and it's just like you don't really know what it is until you're kind of in the middle of it for a little while, and then you start understanding. But I mean, in a sense, it's also once again I'm going to get deep on it. It's also like a process of self-examination, I guess you could say. So you're you have to really observe how you're acting all the time. It really is acting. It's a virtual stage, more or less. They're walking through a stage set, more or less, and you're an actor.
Yes.
So it is like a process of self-observation. It's like you really have to like watch yourself and what you're doing and like how you're acting and how people are.
It's immersive theater, if you want to get technical about it.
It really genuinely is. So, like, as I started feeling like I was getting more familiar and more skillful at, really getting a reaction out of people, I started feeling like I had, I don't know how else to put it, some kind of assistance.
Oh,
that's what it felt like. I felt like I was like plugging myself into a certain kind of an energy. And I was, and it was kind of like acting through me. I don't know how else to put it. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah,
so,
I can relate to that.
In that sense, also, it's just like that. I feel like it's connected to the same thing. That's that psychic realm. You know what I mean? Like that these occurrences of this energy operates through. But I really do feel like it's a real thing. It exists, but the whole thing is, I've noticed this too. There are some presences that cause these things to like not be around. Like they will avoid certain people or certain situations. So certain people won't ever have that experience because they're not connected to it in any way.
By the same token, they can also target certain individuals.
Oh, they could do both. They could do both things. It really is kind of wild, honestly. But yeah, I've noticed that. This is like that's kind of the way that I view spiritual happenstances.
Yeah.
So it's more than just I just saw an apparition, or I just saw something walking down my hall.
Way more.
It's way more than that, because I think that these same energies that I'm talking about, like I guess you could say, whether it's somebody directly around us or if it's something in our head or whatever, I feel like these things like tweak us on a daily basis, and then we don't really understand like what's going on exactly. But there's something around us that's triggering us to be upset for some reason or another.
Encouraging certain emotional responses.
And encouraging emotional responses. Oh, yeah.
Why do you think they do that?
To get some kind of a rise out of us?
Well, yeah, an emotional response, because I think that's what they eat. That's what they feed on.
I think that has something to do with it, honestly.
Well, when you think about a negative entity in your home that's causing you trouble, the more frightened you become of what's going on, the more they scare you. Why would they do that? And how would they get the energy to actually manifest on our plane?
And why did Monsters, Inc. put this in such a commercialized form?
Yes! Thank you for pointing that out.
Seriously, when I saw that movie, I was like, oh, yep, that's what that is.
Yep. Y'all take notes now. If you haven't seen Monsters, Inc., maybe it's time.
It's true. This is how it works, man. It is how it works.
It is. Right down to the ending scene.
But, yeah, so that's kind of my perspective on the paranormal, or the mysterious, or psychic energy, or whatever name you want to put on it, but
the mystical,
unknown,
the
it
unusual.
is definitely a dimension of our reality that is not recognized enough, and definitely not understood enough.
Boy, it's becoming more and more talked about, though, and which is one of the reasons that we're doing this show. There's a lot of disinformation out there too, so y'all follow your guts.
Yeah, it's true. Truth is definitely a feeling.
Yes, it is.
That's what I kind of come to realize. That's why if I get a bad feeling off of somebody or a situation or something, then it just makes sense to me to avoid it, because it's just like I pay attention to those things now.
Yeah.
I understand how important intuition is. It's very tied to that realm.
Yes.
If you have good intuition, then it's this energy, this intention, whatever you want to call it, is around you, and it will help you kind of. It's like your spidey sense. It'll help you.
Your spidey sense.
It'll help you understand like what is directly around you.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's important because we live in a world right now where just energies are just running rampant.
Boy, they are.
And it's just crazy. And it's just like sometimes you just feel like you're just caught in the crossfires. You don't even understand why you're feeling emotional the way that you are or whatever. But the whole thing is, you got all these things around you that are just kind of making you feel this way.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things. Just understand the importance of your intuition and create a sanctuary for yourself, create a sacred space for yourself.
Yes.
So you can shield yourself from those energies and actually regroup and make sure you're always centered.
Yep.
That's the best thing you can do for yourself.
It is a time of energy chaos. That's a fact.
Yep. And it just it feeds on the negative reaction. That's seriously.
Emotion is such a powerful thing.
I had absolutely no intention to getting really super deep or anything in the conversation, but the truth of the matter is, those phenomena, us feeling shitty for no reason or feeling like we just can't control the way we're acting, those things are very connected to unseen energies and unexplained happenings and all the stuff that people talk about but don't really fully understand. It's all connected to the same.
It always
thing.
reminded me of the movie Constantine. Okay.
I love that movie.
Because you've got the darkness whispering in your ears. They're not necessarily making you do anything, but they might be encouraging it. And the same thing with the angels, because they're whispering in your ear and trying very hard to steer you in the right way for you. And it's really kind of like that. There's all these energies out there that really depend on our emotional response. Emotion is so important and so powerful.
I guess according to some things I've read from a certain esoteric teacher, so emotions, as in real emotions, can actually be used as superpowers if you know how to use them properly.
I believe that.
But the whole thing is you can view your emotions as a horse running wild without a restraint or without any reins on. You can't control which direction that it goes. So this is the whole thing. It's a whole process of understanding your emotions and understanding how to direct them appropriately, because the whole thing is
productively.
Yeah. Because if you aren't making everybody else's life around you a more enlivened place, then you're polluting them. There is no
middle of the road.
Mm-hmm. It's the whole thing. It's the more organized you are within yourself, within your inner self, the more that you're able to give everybody. And that's, I guess you could say, the most important thing. It's not money. You can't take that with you.
Yeah.
Your legacy really is just how much you have your fucking shit together and what you can offer everybody. I mean,
what was it Uncle Doug always used to say? Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time.
Right. Well, here's to getting really super introspective and stoned, by the way. Because medical marijuana is legal now in Missouri.
It's not medical anymore, baby. It's recreational. So congratulations, Missouri. I know it was a very, mixed emotion on that one, but it's now recreational in Missouri, and we're going to appreciate that. So thank you, Aaron, very much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually had a good time talking about some stuff.
That was really fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah, no worries. Of course, why would we not create a super entertaining show?
Woot woot! We've come to the end of my show for this week. Special thanks to my wonderful boyfriend and my amazing family for helping me get this project off the ground and indulging me down this crazy rabbit hole. Thanks for listening, and keep it surreal.